Let's talk about a paradox, an outcast, an idea that by all accounts should have failed years ago. But it didn't. It just refused to die. And now it's actually starting to reshape the very system that wanted it gone. This is the story of Bitcoin.
473 times. That's how many times this asset has officially been declared dead. Journalists, famous economists, Wall Street analysts, they've all taken a turn writing its obituary. Again and again and again. And yet, well, here we are. And to be fair, you can see why they were so confident. Imagine an asset losing 80% of its value. That's a death blow. Well, Bitcoin has done that 4 separate times. Each crash was supposed to be the final nail in the coffin, the definitive proof that the bubble had finally truly burst. But it just kept coming back. For years, the so-called experts called it a fraud, rat poison squared, a Ponzi scheme, you name it. The financial establishment wouldn't go near it. Then, in 2024, everything changed. The establishment didn't just show up to the party, they blew the doors off the hinges. BlackRock, the biggest asset manager on the planet, launched a Bitcoin ETF. So that's the real question, isn't it? What does the heart of the financial system see in this thing that hundreds of very smart people completely missed? To answer that, you have to go right back to the beginning.
See, Bitcoin wasn't just some random experiment cooked up in a lab. It was forged in the fire of a global financial crisis. Its entire reason for being is literally encoded into its DNA, right from the very first block.
Just picture it. It's 2008. The entire global financial system is on the brink of collapse, and it's only saved by massive taxpayer-funded bailouts. Trust in banks? It's shattered. And right in the middle of that chaos, some anonymous person or group named Satoshi Nakamoto quietly releases a 9-page paper. The idea? A new kind of money, one that no bank or government could control. A couple of years later, its first real-world use was to buy 2 pizzas, a transaction that today would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is the key. The whole idea that makes Bitcoin so different is decentralization. Think about it. There's no Bitcoin CEO to fire. There's no headquarters to shut down. The whole thing is run by a global network of computers that belong to everyone and no one, all at once. This makes it incredibly hard to stop, to censor, or to manipulate, which was a direct response to the failures of a traditional system. And here's the other part of the magic trick. Unlike national currencies, which governments can print more of whenever they want, devaluing your savings, Bitcoin has a fixed, unchangeable limit. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, period. It's a monetary policy set in stone, or rather, in code, not decided behind closed doors. So you have this brand new, decentralized, totally scarce asset. And its journey from an obscure white paper to where it is today, well, it's been pretty wild. It's a path that leads from the darkest corners of the internet straight to the trading floors of Wall Street. So how did it get there? Well, it happened in stages. First, you had the cypherpunks and the hardcore tech believers. Then it found its first real, if notorious, use case on places like the Silk Road, which proved it could actually work for transactions. Then came something nobody saw coming. A whole country, El Salvador, made it legal tender. And then, the final step, the ultimate validation, when Wall Street finally came knocking. And they didn't just knock, they took the door off its hinges. Just look at the stats for BlackRock's ETF. We're talking about more than $63 billion in assets. They're holding over 800,000 Bitcoin. This isn't some tiny speculative experiment. It's one of the most successful ETF launches in history. Just let that sink in for a second. The outcast asset, the one they called fraud, is now being managed by the biggest money manager on Earth and held safely by the largest institutional custodian. The infrastructure of traditional finance isn't just accepting it, it's actively being built around it. What a complete reversal from just a few years ago. Now, adoption at this scale doesn't happen by accident. Bitcoin has survived because it serves a real purpose. And that purpose puts it on a direct collision course with some of the most powerful financial systems in the world. So the question becomes, what is it actually threatening? Well, for starters, it's a potential alternative to the US dollar's total dominance in global trade. It presents a monetary policy that politicians simply can't change on a whim. It acts like a parallel to the global SWIFT banking system, but one that works 24/7 and doesn't require anyone's permission. And maybe the most powerful idea of all, it's an asset you can truly own yourself without needing a bank or a government as a middleman. So, after all that, after surviving everything that's been thrown at it, where do we go from here? It seems like Bitcoin's future is heading down one of 2 very different roads. In one scenario, it just fades into irrelevance. Maybe a critical flaw is finally found in the code, or maybe a better technology comes along and replaces it. Or maybe, just maybe, governments around the world finally get their act together and successfully ban it. But then there's the other scenario, the one where it becomes inevitable. This future is fueled by the exact problems Bitcoin was built to solve. Governments printing endless amounts of money, rising financial censorship, and the growing search for a neutral, global asset in a deeply divided world.
The story of Bitcoin is a story of improbable survival. It's been through epic crashes, it's been condemned by experts, and it's been used by criminals. And yet, it's still here, and it's more deeply woven into the global financial system than ever before. So I think the question is no longer if it can survive, it's proven that it can. The real question is, what does its survival mean for the rest of us? Which of these two futures are we building right now?